Real talk, eagles don't fly with pigeons. So if you got to cut people off to live, I mean, just because you may cut somebody off doesn't mean that you may like feel a way towards them or something like that. It just means like it's what's best for your growth. If it's detrimental to your growth, it gotta go. It gotta go. It's no ifs, ands, or buts around it, because all that's gonna do is stop you from growing and getting to where you need to be. Yeah. 1 2 1 2. You're now tuned in with another episode of Grown Man Talk with Quasi the Artist. First of all, I want to thank everybody that tuned in with me for the first episode, man. That was really dope. I appreciate everybody that actually tapped in with it. You know what I mean? I know I sound a little nasal, a little congested, right? That's I'm fighting a cold. Weather changing. It's crazy. But anyway, this episode is called I don't know what it's called. Actually went dead right now in the brain. I forgot what it was called. Oh, it's called I can't think of it. Why is that? Maybe it doesn't need a title. Maybe that's, the way of saying aha, I remember it now. Change is uncomfortable. This episode is called Change is Uncomfortable. And why is change uncomfortable? Because it is. I think back to when I needed to make dire and drastic changes in my life. And it was really uncomfortable to do so. I couldn't. All I knew was that I didn't want to go back to which I had came from. I knew that in order for me to get my life to where I needed it to be, I had to change. And change is gonna always be uncomfortable, man. Especially when it's like when you're trying to change for the better. All kind of situations come your way. Everything happens. Everything is just like a fresh can of bull crap comes at you, man. I know when I was trying to cause I know coming from out the streets, I know I didn't want to go back to that. I know that wasn't an option for me to go back to that. So I was like, yo, I gotta do it the legit way. I gotta get a job. And that was one of the hardest things for me, man. From coming from a mindset of a hustler to wanting to transition into getting a job, that was a hard thing because I had felonies and stuff, man. And a lot of places didn't want to deal with me. A lot of places was slamming doors in my face. A lot of places was like, nah, you're not qualified to work here. I remember I put in an application at the Crayon Factory in Crayola. Because at that point, I wasn't picky. I would have took anything, man. Anything was good for me, man. I didn't really care. I didn't have no picks. And I remember putting in the application at that place. And they told me, no, you can't work here because you're a convicted felon. And I remember getting so mad. I was arguing with the lady. I was like, you mean to tell me I can't put crayons in the box? Because I went to jail before, I'm not qualified to put crayons in the box? And she was like, it's not my policy. Like, they don't really care. So it was hard overcoming these obstacles that was placed in front of me, man. But let me tell you something, man. You gotta fight through it. You gotta fight through it. All I knew was that I didn't want to make my life situation worse than it had already become. I had a family dependent on me, right? And I'm gonna get into that, right? Because did I make the transition of not being in the streets no more, but I made the transition into becoming a family man, a married man. And that's something I wasn't accustomed to seeing. I went to my first wedding in my 30s. You know what I mean? When my cousin got married, that was the first wedding I ever went to. And that was like, that was a change for me, for real, to become a married man, a father, not just a father, but a husband too. So a lot of obstacles was coming my way, a lot of obstacles was put in before me. And it gets uncomfortable. I'm not gonna even lie, it gets really uncomfortable, man. Someone once told me that something worth having is gonna take some work. Something that you wanna do, something that you wanna have is gonna take work. I remember coming into marriage thinking everything was gonna be all fine and dandy, everything was gonna be all, peaches and cream, so to speak, man. But it's like from the moment we said I do, right? Everything just began to one after another, just snowball, bomb. I'm talking about everything, man. Finances, me not being able to get a job, a steady, stable job. I didn't get a steady, stable job until I was married for like a year or so, maybe. Yeah, it was like, I didn't get a steady job until I was already married for a year. And so that first year was like all kind of hardship, man. I mean, I always remember in that movie, In the Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, right? When he was running down the street to catch the bus and the bus was gone and stuff. I ain't gonna front, man. That scene used to hit me here, man. It used to hit me. Cause I felt like that, man. I remember running down the street in hard bottoms coming from a job interview, cause I was taking any job interview at the time. So I remember running for the buses, hoping I catch the bus and stuff like that, man. And the one particular job that I remember doing that for, they didn't ever even call me back. And that was a lot of that. I got a lot of no's before I got a solid yes. Got a lot of no's before I got a solid yes. Right? I remember in particular, before I was getting to the point where I was just like, man, I can't do this no more. I can't do this. This is difficult. This is hard. This is hard as a man, as a father, as a husband. It was hard, right? To be in that position where it's like, yo, something gotta give. Something gotta give. I don't know if I could do this. And I remember I was this close. Actually, I wasn't this close. I made a decision. I was going to bust a move because something needed to be done. I had got the daycare bill, the rent bill, and everything in one day. And I just was like, you know what? I'm not going to look for a job today. I'm going out here to bust a move, right? And I went out and tried to bust a move, and I almost got locked up. I got into a tussle in the store with the owner of the spot. Got in a tussle with him, trying to, pull a scam to get some money up out of there. And in the midst of the tussle, my coat ripped off. I got out the store, he kept my coat. I got maybe a few blocks away, maybe 30 minutes later, right? The police called my cell phone. And they like, is this Mr. Drake's? And I'm like, yeah, who is this? And they're like, oh, it's Allentown Police Department. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, oh my goodness. He's like, you know why I'm calling you, right? You know why I'm calling you, right? He was like, yeah, we got your coat and your kid's daycare stuff, because I had the daycare bill in my pocket. They just gave me the bill. I had the daycare bill in my pocket. He's like, you know why we calling you, right? And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I had on my phone my information and all that, and I didn't even know they had my wife's phone number too. They called her while she was at work looking for me. So she called me and was like, what is going on? What is this about? And I was just like, yo, I had to bust a movement. So me being in that mindset, like, man, I can't wait on God. I gotta do something now. It almost cost me big, right? So I'm thinking the worst. I'm like, yeah, it's over. It's done. It's nothing I could do. I I gotta get out of here. I jumped on the first thing smoking back to New York. I was like, I'm out. Jumped on the first bus back to New York. Was like, I'm just, you know what? Pennsylvania's over. They not getting no more time out of me. I'm done. I'm not going back to Pennsylvania. It's over. So I'm thinking that was a smart move. I go back to New York. I'm in New York for a day. And I'm just trying to figure out what's my next move. You know, I'm on somebody's couch. I'm couch surfing, right, for the night. And I'm trying to figure out what's my next move, what I'm gonna do. My pastor at the time calls me. He's like, what's going on? You know, I heard some things, and I don't know how he found out about it, but he found out. But he told me, he was like, I'm gonna help you take care of this. I'm gonna help you figure this out. But I can't help you figure it out if you're on the run. You gotta come back and you gotta deal with this. So I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I want to deal with this. I don't know. 'Cause I know that in my mind, at that point in time, in my mind, I'm thinking the only thing that can help me, that can deal with this, is me going to jail. So I'm like, I don't know if I could deal with this. I don't know. So he's like, yo, you gotta deal with it. Let's get together. So I came back, right? I hit my pastor, got in touch with him. My pastor and I, we sat down, we talked. So he called. I was supposed to meet him. I met up with him. And let me tell you how God works, man. Let me tell you how God be moving, man. Despite me not wanting to wait for God, despite me wanting to do my own thing and think I had it all figured out on my own, I get in the car with my pastor. Right, as soon as I get in the car with him, he on the phone with the chief of police, with the Allentown chief of police. At that particular time, Allentown had a black police chief. That was the only time they ever had one, if I'm not mistaken. And he was on the phone with him. And he was like, yo, man, he's a good man. He just made a stupid mistake. He's having a hard time finding, he's telling him my whole background. He's like, yo, he's having a hard time finding a job. He thought this was a good move. It wasn't like he's trying to buy sneakers or a new cell phone or nothing, you know what I'm saying? So him and the chief is talking, and the chief is like, all right, just bring him down and we're gonna figure it out. So we go down there, right? I don't even see the chief. I see the cop that called me, right? I see him, and he like, yo, man, this could have been a lot worse. I mean, this could have been a whole lot easier, man. You just, you know what I'm saying? Why are you, like, he sat there and lectured me for an hour. Word. And the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, as soon as this lecture is over, he put me in jail. I'm thinking the whole time, as soon as this lecture is over, I'm going to jail. I'm borderline, like, I don't even want to hear this. I'm borderline, like, yo, just think, why did I even come back? That's all I'm thinking about. Why did I come back? What made me come back, right? So after he's done lecturing me or whatever, he goes, all right, man, the owner doesn't want to press any charges. He don't want to do that. You didn't get away with no money. You didn't do nothing. He doesn't want to press charges. So go home, take care of your family, man. And I'm like, what? He's like, go home, take care of your family, stay out of trouble, man. Next time it may not work out as good. Just go home, man. So I left. They walked me right out the door. I left. And I'm like, yo. And I called my pastor. I'm like, he was like, yeah, you know, I had to talk. My pastor at the time, he's like, yo, I had to talk with the chief, you know what I'm saying? And they agreed that they wasn't going to pursue any charge, because they could have pursued the charges even though the owner didn't want to press charges. That's how PA is. But it just happened to work. It worked out in my favor. And then what happened? The very next day, right? The very next day, the program that I was in, when I was telling y'all about the last episode, the program that had got me the job, I went in the next day to talk to them to see if they knew about any places that might have been hiring. And then the lady tells me, well, technically your 2 years of being out is almost up, so you could work. You could work at the Keenan House. That was the name of the rehab. It was like, yo, you could work there if you just go put in an application. The very next day. So I went there, put in an application. I saw the dude that was hiring. His name was Martin. He got me right in. I started the next week, yo. So I said that to say, like, yo, you can't be really rushing God on your blessings, man. I was 1 day away from my blessing. 1 day away from my blessing. And I almost ruined it. By trying to be fast, going ahead, trying to handle things on my own, man. Because change is uncomfortable. Because I felt like it was uncomfortable getting told no in the process of me working to get to my blessing, yo. Because I almost threw away everything for a couple $100. I almost threw away everything for that, man. Trying to move fast, you know what I mean? Trying to work ahead of God, trying to speed the clock. And I learned the valuable lesson from that, man. It's just that life is gonna never work on your terms, man. There's gonna always be some stuff, especially when you trying to do better, especially when you working to do something with yourself. The enemy is gonna always show up and hit you with some stuff, man. And that's how it is, man. I remember working little temp service jobs for Christmas and stuff like that, and they never paid me and stuff like that. I go back, the business is closed, the temp service is closed, and I'm like, yo, like, or working one night. I had a job at a temp service. I worked there one night. It was a New Year's Eve. They made me work too, like 12 hours. It was like crazy hours, yo. And then at the end of the shift, they was like, y'all go home, you know what I'm saying, and we'll call y'all when we need y'all again. Like, it was a lot of that I was going through. Let me tell you about them temp services, man. Them temp services be doing people dirty, yo. And that's for real. They really do. I was like, yo, how do you even get away with doing that? Because most of the people that's working there is illegals. Most of the people ain't got no paperwork. Most of the people, you know what I mean, they got fake IDs or whatever. So they not going to even be trying to really pursue anything or go after anyone for anything. You know what I mean? They're going to really be like, whatever. And I didn't know at the time that I could have really complained and really like pursued them. I was just like trying to figure out what the next move was gonna be. I'm trying to figure out how was I gonna get myself some sort of stable income, man. And it wasn't, listen, man, it was real difficult to the point where it was like I was willing to risk it all for a couple $100. I was like, yo, I could get further doing this. I could get, and it was a stupid way of thinking, a stupid mindset for me to have at that particular time. But I was desperate, right? I was desperate. Also thinking about how it was uncomfortable for me spiritually. Spiritually, it was hard. I had to separate myself from a lot of friends. A lot of people had to become distant friends, because where God had me going in my life, it wasn't the same path they was walking. That was a hard part too, because I always been like a loyal dude. You know what I mean? So to be in a situation where it's like, yo, I gotta cut certain people off or deal with certain people at a distance, that was a hard decision to have to make. But that's natural. If your life is leading in a direction that others' life ain't, what are y'all spending time for? For what? Eagles don't fly with pigeons, right? That's real talk. Eagles don't fly with pigeons. So if you gotta cut people off to live, I mean, just because you may cut somebody off doesn't mean that you may like feel a way towards them or something like that. It just means like it's what's best for your growth. If it's detrimental to your growth, it gotta go. It gotta go. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it, because all that's gonna do is stop you from growing and getting to where you need to be. And I had to learn that. You know what I'm saying? That certain people I may love them to death. I may got so much love for them, but I just can't deal with you. I can love you from a distance, but not, you know what I mean? And just continue to elevate and grow that way. Once I was able to realize I could do that, I can honestly say that my life and my mindset began to change. Because if I'm trying to find a job and work and take care of a family, but when I get together with the bros and all they talking about is hitting licks, or you know what I'm saying, or what happened in the club, or whatever, you know what I mean, or get into a bag, it's not gonna feed me spiritually, mentally, or whatever, you know what I mean? It's just real. It's just real. And once I was able to realize that I could do that, my life began to shift and go in a different direction. And it's really uncomfortable, man. It's not easy at all. People you spend time with, people you've been in the trenches with, people you got money with, celebrated bottles with, and everything, man. And then you're just like, yo, my life is different. And then the longer I've been married, I notice the majority of friends that I have now, all my friends are married. Like, I don't have like single friends, like single guy friends. Like, the majority of the people that I have as a friend now, they're all married. And that's just the natural evolution of things, man. I'm not saying you can't have a friend that may not be married, but it's not beneficial, I say, to your growth. Because if you have a friend that's always, you know, dipping and diving and doing them, and you like, yo, I gotta go home to my wife, my kids, you know, it's like, it's weird. It's a weird place to be. It's definitely a weird place to be. Yeah, man. So I just wanted everybody to get a glimpse into the change process, man, because a lot of people like to look at the final results, and they see the final results and they begin to think that, oh, okay, yeah, it's easy, I could do that. Let me tell you one thing, man, it is not easy. There's nothing easy about change. There's nothing easy about it at all. I can't even begin to tell you the nights I stood up praying in my prayer closet, crying, please God, make a way. I'm trying to do what's right, please. I don't want to go back to that, man. And it wasn't easy. I had to wait on God. I'll tell you about a dream I had one night, right? I had a dream, and all I remember was it was an image of fire in a dream, but the shape of the fire was the shape of Jesus's face. And I remember being scared at first, but then I felt peace. I felt peace, and through the peace, I could hear the fire. He began to talk, and he could say, "Don't worry, everything is gonna be okay. You're gonna be all right." It's exactly what he told me. Exactly what he told me. I tell you no lie. In the dream, he was just like, "Yo, don't worry, everything is gonna be okay." And I remember I woke up and I felt like. And this was the time I was going through a lot, man, trying to figure this out, man. Losing sleep over bills, losing sleep over, like, I gotta put food on the table. You know, that thing that I was talking about last episode about having mouths to feed. That became a real thing. That became a real thing, man. And you know, shout out to my wife too, man. I must say, because she held us down. She held us down for the first 2 years of our marriage, man. She held a bunch of the financial load, man, and it was hard for me to to deal with that and not go crazy and try to figure something out. But if she was like, if I gotta hold it down while you try to find something, then I know you out here looking, I know you trying, something's gonna come. You just gotta have faith, you gotta hold on. And I was holding on, man. So that's why, you know, I look back to where we came from to where we at now. Man, it's nothing but God, man. It's nothing but God, man. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be real with you. Yes, change is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable, but it's worth it at the end. Remember, my man told me one time, man, and it's crazy because he was a brother I was in church with. You know, I looked up to him in church, you know, because he had been in church for a while. But he's not in church anymore. But he dropped a gem on me. He was like, yo, for you to get to where you need to be, God is going to stretch you. And you got to be there right now. You're just being stretched. Don't worry about it. You're just being stretched. And I was like, that was deep. That was deep. Because I was being stretched. Now when certain things come up, little things come up now, I look at it like, ain't about nothing. We gonna be all right. I look back like, yeah, look at what we done been through. We gonna be okay. Oh, we gotta do what? That's all right. That ain't about nothing. Those major things that used to drive me crazy, now they're little things to me now. It's like I done overcame way more than that. I know what God could do. This ain't about nothing. This ain't about nothing, man. So yeah, man, just know that as long as you is trusting in the Lord and being faithful, there's a difference between being perfect. God's not calling for you to be perfect. He's calling for us to be faithful. He's calling for us to just continue to show up, continue to do your part, and everything is going to work out, man. It's going to work out. I can guarantee you that. That's a fact. So yeah, change is uncomfortable, but it's for a reason. It's for the betterment of yourself, man. Before a sword is made sharp and beautiful and gleaming and bright, it goes through the fire. Pieces of coal, right? Before they shiny diamonds and all that, it's in the dirt. You know what I mean? And that's real right there, man. That's real talk. So yo, I want to appreciate everybody for tapping in with episode 2. Stay tuned, man. Keep showing up. Signing out. It's your boy, Quasi the Artist. Peace.